Hey, what's going on, everybody? Sir Da Vinci here with another weekly vendor reset video for the division. Two things I would like to point out, I'm going to say at the beginning of the videos from now on, is first off, if there's anything in the blueprint vendor here at the base of operations hub, you can fast travel here very quickly. Just go to the map, base of operations is there, and then this little downward arrow here, the terminal. Fast travel straight to that, and it'll put you right here. Definitely check the blueprint vendor whether you watch this video or not, just in case, because if I have already purchased the blueprint and it's for sale this week, then it's not going to show up there for me. And also the other thing is, obviously you can look down the description for the timestamps of each individual item. That way you can jump around to each item and check them out rather than having to watch the entire video if you do not want to. So let's jump right into it. Alright guys, so as always, we're going to start here in the base of operations hub where all the DLCs start at the special equipment vendor Phoenix credits, with the exotic weapons first. Here we're looking at the Cassidy, which comes with commanding and determined this week. Historians got swift, brutal. This one's actually got a higher headshot damage percentage than like the last amount of weeks I can even remember. 155% isn't bad. I know it can get up to around like 170% though. But Swift isn't all that good for this, but seeing as how it's already got Brutal, which is perfect for sniper rifles, you could roll away Swift for something like Prepared. Maybe you can get the Bleed talent there, or the Blind one, which would actually make this kind of decent. But yeah, not too bad of talents on that one this week. Centurion's got Harmful, which is good for pistols, especially due to the fact that way you don't really have to waste that talent on one of your primaries, or you also don't necessarily have to run a Predator's Mark build, although Predator's Mark bleeding is much more effective. We also get the Liberator here with commanding, accurate, and talented, not very good, and the Pecan has self-preserved and vicious. Alright, continuing on in the special equipment vendor for Phoenix credits here, we have a pretty nice PP19 with 22% critical hit chance, 23.1 thousand base damage with my firearms. Already comes with responsive. It's got competent in the second slot, which if you have the electronics for is a great talent, and also hurried, which is the guaranteed third talent on PP19s. If you do not have the electronics for competent, that's the one I would suggest rolling away for probably deadly. Also still here in the special equipment vendor for Phoenix credits, we have a decent military AK-47 here. I'm not too sure which one it is that has the vertical recoil, sorry. But I know the black market one has horizontal, which is a lot harder to control than vertical. Vertical, you really just have to hold down on the right stick a little bit, but horizontal can go left and right. It's a little harder to keep it straight. But this one's got 22% enemy armor damage, 28.5 thousand base damage with my firearms. It comes with Brutal, which is good for assault rifles, although not as good for the AK, due to it not being a little harder to hit headshots. And with the AK, with its recoil patterns, you might want to aim for the body a lot more often, so getting deadly might be a little better of a decision over Brutal. But either way, still not bad. It comes with swift and accurate, also not the best talents, especially not for assault rifles. But if I were to choose, I would probably say hold on to swift, because the extra reload speed is very nice, and then you could roll away accurate for something like competent, or deadly, which I would suggest getting competent, seeing as how it's in the third slot, so you don't have to worry about the electronics requirement. Alright, we are now going to scroll through the gear set pieces here in the special equipment vendor for Phoenix credits. Alright, still here at the special equipment vendor for Phoenix credits, we have an SR7 suppressor here, which is a critical hit damage major attribute suppressor. This one only fits on heavier weapons, larger weapons anyway, so no SMGs, but seeing as how critical hit damage is actually a lot more effective right now, headshot damage is not as much. Also, like I was saying before with the AK, it might be better to focus on critical hit chance and damage over headshot damage. This is not a bad suppressor to get for that purpose. It's got 18% critical hit damage, 3% critical hit chance, and 2% accuracy. Sorry about that. Alright, the accuracy is not going to be as required on assault rifles, but still not a bad thing to have, seeing as how it's 18% critical hit damage. I believe the max is 19, 3% critical hit chance. Might be the max, it could be 4 though. And the only other thing you could possibly get there is headshot damage, I believe. You can get a little bit, maybe like 5%. So still not a bad suppressor to get. And we also scroll down here to find a pro red dot sight, which is also complementing that play style of having critical hit damage. It's got 18% of that, 5.5% headshot damage, and another 2% accuracy, so not a bad one to get, and this one can actually be put on SMG, so it's also a pretty nice scope to have for that too. Alright, we are now moving over here to the special blueprints vendor, and this week we have a classic AK-47 blueprint, which is actually going to be a pretty nice one to pick up if you do not already have it. We have the classic M60, stamina mask, stamina knee pads, the compensator muzzle, which is actually a pretty decent one to get if you are someone who has a little bit harder ability keeping control of your high rate of fire weapons, such as the lightweight M4 and the Elvoa, stuff like that. And we also have a performance gear mod blueprint. Alright, moving upstairs into the base of operations now at the advanced weaponry vendor for base credits. We first start off here with a tactical SASG 12 here, which is pretty decent. 342% stagger, 123,000 base damage with my firearms. It comes with deadly, self-preserved, and vicious, which all three of those talents really actually complement each other pretty well. Vicious isn't as good, as you're only going to get the 10% increase of critical hit chance when you're more than two segments of health. So I would personally suggest getting Adept or Fierce in that slot instead. Self-preserved, obviously if you have that increased critical hit chance, you're going to be getting some healing back with each shot. And seeing as how the shotguns can do some massive damage, especially up close if you hit with each pellet from the shot, that's going to be healing you quite a bit, on top of the fact that it has deadly, which also increases your critical hit damage max by 15%. So I personally would suggest rolling away Vicious for either Competent or Adept. I think those are the two best talents you can get there. Responsive would be a really good one to have in this situation. I would personally get rid of Self-Preserved for that if you were able to roll away two talents, but obviously you can't. So I think personally the best three you could get here is Deadly, Responsive, and Competent or Adept, which would actually make this thing actually really good, but either way it's still pretty good as is. We also have a hunting M44 here with 160% headshot damage and 163,000 base damage with my firearms. It comes with Harmful, which is a lot better on semi-automatic snipers due to the fact that you can get a lot more shots off more often. That 15% chance won't seem as difficult to reach, seeing as how this is a bolt action. It's also got Unforgiving and Prepared. Prepared is great for sniper rifles because most of the time you're going to be firing them from far away. That's kind of the point of them. So in this case, you would probably roll away Unforgiving for something like Brutal, which would actually be probably the best talent in my opinion to get on the sniper other than the two that are already on it. Alright, starting off here in the northwest corner of the map at the Autumn's Hope Safe House, we are starting here at this gear vendor to scroll down and find a really nice prototype performance mod. I would personally say it's the best for solo play, and obviously anyone else really. 5.5% first aid self-heal. The max is 6%, so it's obviously not the best you can get, but for base credits you can't really go wrong if you don't have them already. Personally, I already have 6% ones, but if you still need these guys, definitely check this out and pick them up. Alright, next up here at the Cavern Safe House, moving a little bit south of where we were before. At the gear vendor here, we scroll all the way down to find another prototype performance mod here. This one being 5% support station healing speed, and when running a reclaimer build, looking to be a support player, healing everybody up with the support station, definitely grab these, fill all four of your performance slot with all of these, because this is definitely going to help keep your teammates alive, keep yourself alive, and keep that thing definitely as effective as it can be. Alright, next up here at the Firewall Safe House, moving up toward the northeast corner of the map. Here at the gear vendor, we scroll all the way down to find a prototype stamina mod here with 238 stamina, 3,159 health. Obviously the stamina roll could definitely be higher than that, and the health roll I can believe can be a little higher than that, so you can definitely get better than this. But if you do need some of these, make somewhat of a tanky build if you're looking to make one like that. Definitely grab some of these. You can't really go wrong with base credits anyway, so definitely check it out. Alright, now moving on to the Dark Zone checkpoints here. First off, at the East 53rd Street Dark Zone checkpoint. Here at the Dark Zone vendor, we scroll down to find our first extended mag of the week. What a surprise, huh? This one's got 116% magazine size, 4% critical hit damage, and 5.4% rate of fire. Rate of fire's max is 5.6%. Critical hit damage is at its max, and magazine size of 116% isn't bad. I believe it can get it to about 121%, so it could definitely be higher, but definitely not a bad magazine. And fortunately, not with without the this one, or really any mods or anything like that sold in the Dark Zone vendors are actually pretty cheap Dark Zone fund wise. I only have 852 myself because I spent all mine and I don't really spend a whole lot of time in there, but mods are only 21,000 Dark Zone funds, and that is kind of easy to get. You spend a little time in a Dark Zone, you'll definitely get that pretty quick. So if you need an extended mag this week and want to get this one, feel free. As you can see, the other mods, like the prototype Firearms mod here, is also cheap like the extended mag, but once you get to the armor and weapons, that's when the price gets a bit ridiculous. So 250,000 for armor and over 400,000 for weapons. So but either way, if you need an extended mag, definitely not the best like I said, but it does have a high fire rate of fire roll, along with critical hit damage, which is pretty nice, and a decent magazine size. Alright, next up here at the East 46th Street Dark Zone checkpoint, here at the Dark Zone vendor, we scroll down first to find a prototype stamina mod, this one with a high stamina roll of 260, and it also comes with 1% critical hit chance. I usually stay away from these kinds of mods just because the 1% critical hit chance, obviously you can get 5 of these, you can get about 5% increase of critical hit chance. I believe it's not as worth it as getting something like health in that slot instead, and that way you can get yourself over 15,000 health instead of just 5% critical hit chance. Just my suggestion, but this does have a high stamina roll, so if you're looking for a little bit of additional critical hit chance, not a bad pickup I suppose. And we also have an Omega rifle suppressor here with 18.5% headshot damage, 2.5% stability, and 4% critical hit damage. I would personally prefer to have critical hit chance instead of the stability, but definitely not a bad suppressor. And like I said, Dark Zone Fund mods and stuff like that are pretty cheap. This one's actually up to 24,000 over the 21,000 like that. But either way, if you're not a big Dark Zone fan, then you could just spend a little bit of time and get some extractions done. You'll probably get up to 24,000 pretty quickly. Okay, next up here at the East 42nd Street Dark Zone checkpoint, we come in here to find another prototype stamina mod. This one here's got 254 stamina, which is toward the higher side, and 2,905 health. It's actually kind of lower. I believe you can get over 3,200 health, so that's not as good, but the stamina roll is a bit higher than the last one, or other than the previous two that we've run into. The last one is actually 260, but either way, like I said before, if you're looking to run like a tankier build, then definitely stack stamina and health together on your mods, so this isn't a bad one to pick up either. Alright, next up here at the East 34th Street Dark Zone checkpoint, we have another mod kind of like the stamina mod before, this one being Firearms this time though. It's got 264 Firearms, which is very good, and it also has that 1% critical hit chance. I believe this one would be a better combination due to the fact that if you're running a stamina mods, you're probably looking to be a little more tankier. You're not necessarily focusing on DPS. So since this one's focused on Firearms, you are looking for DPS, and having that increased critical hit chance is not necessarily a bad thing. Like I said, still, I believe health is more valuable to get in that slot over the critical hit chance, just because it's only 1%. But either way, if you are someone who needs a little more critical hit chance, especially if you're hunting like an assault rifle build, which doesn't have that base critical hit chance like the SMGs, then I guess it's not all that bad to do. Alright, next up here at the West 34th Street Dark Zone checkpoint, we have a decent prototype electronics mod here with 246 electronics and 3,109 skill power. Obviously, having those two combined, you're probably going to be using it on something like a skill build or a support build, like Reclaimer or Firecrest, something like that, to get your skill power a bit higher, to increase your damage of your turret, increase the healing speed or range of your support station, or other skills that you might be using, something like your Seeker Mines, stuff like that. So not a bad one to have combined. 246 electronics is a little bit lower. Not too bad though. 3109 skill power is quite good. So definitely grab this one if you guys are looking for some to build a skill build. Okay, next up here at the West 42nd Street Dark Zone checkpoint, we have a very good prototype stamina mod here this time. 262 stamina is very good, and 3,290, almost 3,300 health. So that is a perfect combination for anyone looking to run a tanky build. So definitely grab these while they're here if you have the Dark Zone funds for it. Alright, next up here at the East 58th Street Dark Zone checkpoint, we have a couple things to look at here. First off, we're looking at an operator backpack with the talent Specialized, which is my personal favorite. talent to be using on my backpack. I usually try to avoid having a gear set piece there so I can use this, but this one's got 1224 electronics, not a bad roll. It's also got 12,347 health, and it has bleed resistant and minor attributes, which I would personally roll away for the ammo capacity. So if you're looking specifically for one that has electronics as the starting, the base stat on it, then this is not a bad one to get. Definitely check it out, especially if you're looking to run an electronics build, something with trying to focus on increasing the power of a skill, because the increase of 200% of your firearm stamina to skill power is very nice. And obviously on top of that, you're going to be a little tankier with that 12,000 extra health. And next up here, also in the same vendor, we have a pair of Spec Ops gloves here with the Savage talent. These ones are rolled with stamina, so definitely keep an eye on that, because what you're going to want to be rolling away is probably the marksman rifle damage, unless you actually want to be using these with a marksman rifle, like a bolt action or semi-automatic. But if not, then you're going to be stuck with the stamina, and you roll away the marksman rifle damage for whatever primary weapon you would be using, such as like an LMG, an SMG, or an assault rifle. That's what you're going to want to be rolling there, and then keep a hold onto the critical hit chance and critical hit damage. Alright, now heading on into the Dark Zone here at the DZ08 safe room. We will look at the gear set pieces now. Alright, next up here now at the DZ09 safe room, Dark Zone special vendor, we look at the gear set pieces now. Alright, and finally here at the safe room here in DZ06 at the Dark Zone special vendor, we will scroll to the gear set pieces here now. Alright guys, well that's going to do it for this week's video for the Dark Zone. Alright guys, well that's going to do it for this week's weekly vendor reset video for the Division. Hope you guys enjoyed. Really appreciate any feedback that I get. Obviously, leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Comment down below. Any feedback is always appreciated. As always, honestly, anything negative, go ahead and feel free to say it. Anything positive, always keep me going. And obviously, any sort of constructive criticism that you could give to help me improve, that would always obviously be nice. And obviously, if there's anything else that you would like me to cover, if you guys don't like something that I do in the video, if you'd like me to do something else in the video, then just let me know down in the comments below. And obviously, subscribe for more. And I will see you guys next week.